back in the States now. Um, I'm enjoying it immensely. Not the
Already?
driving, not the driving. I will say. Well, I mean, I've been
Okay.
back for 2 weeks, but the 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 one thing I will say I really enjoyed about Europe was that the left lane actually went fast. And then I
hmm
find myself driving way faster here than I used to because like I just get so annoyed that there's people going the speed limit in the left lane. Like it's
hmm
beyond frustrating. I mean, and Virginia drivers are worse than anything in Indiana, so that's also a thing. But I'm back in the meal prep and everything, back on the chicken and rice. My body
Oh
feels
yeah.
like normal again. Like I'm actually
hmm
able to, you know, intake and output food now because that was not happening the past 7 months. So
Oh, so you were loading up big poops.
yeah, well, I think I got all of them out this past like 2 weeks. Like I'm pretty sure it took a full 2 weeks. But like I think that was like all the weight gain. It wasn't muscle or really fat. Maybe I got a little fat, but like it wasn't really muscle. It was just intestinal, intestinal weight gain.
Intestinal weight gain. We got to bring that up to Dr. Mike Israetel.
He seems like someone who would have a lot stuck up there. Like
Well, he does. He does. He carries a lot of quote unquote water weight. I don't think it's water weight. It's probably intestinal weight. He just hasn't looked into the science.
oh yeah, I don't really read into the bodybuilding too much, but I have heard people's critiques of him saying that his entire thing was saying that he didn't win because of water weight or something. I was like, I don't know.
It
Also,
was it, it was water weight, and then also he didn't tan enough. He was being a little frugal with his tan,
mm,
which makes sense.
we'll have to make sure those are not issues for us. I mean, I also I've been thinking about our future endeavors, and I'm also thinking
hmm
like, yeah, we're gonna put in effort, but like I'm also just not trying to like destroy my hormones, like feel like crap for 3 months. Like I'd
Yeah,
rather feel all right. And
yeah. And honestly, I'm completely okay if we just get down to like, and we're just like looking really good, and just not to do a show. I'm preparing to do a show. Like I'm now down. What about 23 pounds? So I'm heading in the right direction. I've got another like 13 or more pounds or so before I'm gonna like do a maintenance period.
yeah,
But like I've lost a decent chunk of weight, and like I'm starting to like look good now. Like I'm okay taking my shirt off, and I haven't been okay in a long time with taking my shirt off.
my issue is I haven't started to see the changes yet, but it's only been 2 weeks, so I'm hoping, like once my
Yeah.
body settles back in the routine, it'll be good.
hmm
Um, yeah, I'm just back on the chicken and rice. I've got the frescas again. I've got
Oh,
the
frescas.
I'm basically going back to all my old cheat codes. I mean, I still haven't fully settled into like just being okay with chicken and rice. And
hmm
I don't think I ever really was, right? I'm really eating Jack's pizzas and stuff, but I'm only really eating like out or like Taco Bell or something like 2, maybe 3 times a week. So
hmm
I'm pretty happy with that considering I'm still adapting from like 7 months of zero self-cooked food. So
hmm
it's a little slow adjustment, but I'm getting back
Hey,
to it.
you're good then. You're good there. No, I yeah. Well, that's good that you're kind of finding that routine again. I've recently just been out of my routine because I stopped my last clinical rotation, and this past week has been really hard just because I've had so much free time and I don't know what to do with it. I'll do everything I need to do like in the morning, like I'll go work out, I'll go eat, and then it's like 11. Like I'll wake up kind of late too. I'll wake up at like 8:30. I'll go work out, make some food, and then I'll like be done with everything that I needed to do by like noon, and I just sit the rest of the day and ponder about what I should be doing.
That was why I was like pretty tired. Um, I was telling you today I had to like drink a little bit of caffeine to get me to like baseline just now. Not a ton
hmm
because I'm back to my 5 a.m. workouts also, so I'm planning to be passed out by 9. But I Yeah, since getting back, I mean, also there's not a ton going on at work right now. Like it's show up at 9, everyone's gone by like 1 or maybe 2.
Oh
Um,
wow.
I mean, just because everyone just got back, no one's really like nothing's really happening.
Hmm.
Um, so it's kind of pretty chill, but I definitely do feel that like I was talking to my roommate Dave about it, and I was like, we were both kind of saying the same thing, which is just like, yeah, when we don't have much going on, we just do less in every other facet of our lives.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I've been upping the working out. I've been doing cardio every day now, so Stairmaster every
Oh
day.
shit.
Then I do a
Oh
run
shit.
on Sundays,
For how long?
just 20 minutes basically each session. So it's not a ton, but like
Hmm.
considering I really didn't do cardio for 7 months straight, going back
Hmm.
to all of a sudden hitting 7 days a week, 20 minutes a day, like I'm happy with where I've landed for now.
You're gonna be shredding some weight here soon.
Yeah, hopefully it kicks in soon, in time for
Hmm.
summer or before we go home. But yeah, it's just been nice being able to settle back into it. Like I we kind of live farther. It's a longer commute than I'm used to. Um, but I just think after 7 months away, a lot of the small stuff doesn't bother me as much. Driving has always bothered me, but
Hmm.
other things about daily life bother me a little less, which is nice. But it is very uneventful. Like you were saying, like today, I think after I did my run, did my meal prep, ran to Taco Bell, and I pretty much haven't done anything. I played like 30 minutes of piano, and I pretty much haven't done anything for the past 4 hours. So,
Nice.
which is nice. It's
Happy
it's
Easter.
it's a nice switch
Happy
up.
Happy Easter, by the way.
Yeah, happy Easter. Well, the problem with us saying that, and like your birthday for anyone who knows, like last time, which I still haven't posted, is that it dates our videos and tells people just how far in advance we have these prepped. Um,
Ooh,
but
that's okay.
that's fine.
We'll be better in the future.
Yeah, I think right now it is just hard because like I know I don't doubt we're gonna be able to get an episode every month, but also like you never know. Life happens,
Yeah.
and
I think my life is just we've been over this just in a transitory phase and it's been like that. So, once I get something more consistent, once I start doing more work consistently and I have like a consistent schedule, I think it'll be easier to play on more consistent videos. Uh, but unfortunately the podcast has been put to the side just because of like I don't know, I've got graduation and I've got to find a job and all of that fun stuff.
yeah. See, I'm taking a back seat now because I don't have anything going on, so I'm like, I guess the podcast is the only creative thing I have going on in my life. So, especially with work not going on, and I'm kind of just
Hmm.
now counting down the final like year, in the Navy. So
Hmm.
I feel pretty stagnant. But I mean, I chatted with my professor about letter of rec like yesterday or something.
Hmm.
So that's on
Did
track.
they remember you?
They did. They said, "Hey, when do you need it by?" And I said, "I'm applying in August." And they said, "All right, hit me up in August." So I was like, okay, cool, sounds good. Um, but yeah, we're making some strides. I definitely luckily I don't feel as stagnant as I did a few months ago.
Mhm.
Um, especially since I'm looking forward a little bit to like the bodybuilding or the law school's a little in the front sights now. I am trying to a goal I just started this week, which I haven't set any like hard parameters for it. I'm trying to like brush up on Chinese. Um, not like really focus in on learning like read textbooks, but like watch a few shows here and there. Like just because like I feel like my once a week conversation with my parents is not maintaining my level of Chinese like I would like it to as
Mhm.
a bilingual speaker. So I'm trying to brush up a little bit so I can at least like get by conversationally. Um,
Did you buy children's books again?
no, I just searched up online Chinese textbooks and they are children's books essentially. Um, but I'm just like going through. I'm like, I'll spend a few minutes a day. I'll just read a few of these, and then uh, I've been trying to curate a list of like donghua, which is like Chinese anime essentially, and
Hmm.
watching those to like get the listening down. But I am realizing that like my level of Chinese is like not just declined, but it really was never that great to begin with.
Mm.
After watching the shows, I'm like, there are a lot of these phrases that like I just don't hear around the house. So like I just have never had experience with
Hmm.
those, and I think it's hard as like I'm considered bilingual, but barely, like barely
Yeah.
bilingual.
Like you can hold a conversation, you can order food, you can have like very just um I don't know. You can have like you can exchange
Mundane. I can have
information.
mundane
Mundane.
conversations.
You can exchange information, maybe not in the best way, but you can get the point across and you can understand what's being generally said to you.
Yeah, and I was talking to Dave, which is the problem because he's the same way, which is like we're basically both household fluent, right? I'm household fluent in Chinese. He's household fluent in like Japanese, but it's
Hmm.
hard to learn from that level because it's easy when like when you're in high school, you're taking Spanish or whatever. You've never learned it. You start from scratch. You learn as a beginner. Um, or people who are more advanced, they can read more textbooks, read more like news stories. But like a household fluent or someone who just grew up speaking it, it's so difficult because you can't start from. It's so boring starting from scratch because you know everything already, but
Hmm.
you also can't start even from an intermediate level because you can't read at all. So I'm at like a sixth grade, no, no, not sixth grade, 6 or 7 year old level of comprehension, I think, with my reading.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm kind of struggling with that, but it's one of those things where I'm like, it's kind of nice not having like a hard set goal. Um, it's just kind of like I want, which yes, I know everyone says like, oh, you should have like concrete goals, but I'm like, it's such a difficult thing with language that I'm like, I'm just trying to be a little better, and I think that's kind of my goal with that right now.
Yeah, I mean, like you can make like non-concrete goals, like you want to be able to just generally communicate better, potentially with like your parents, or like not having to use like English substitutes. Because I've noticed that when you like talked on the phone with your parents, if you don't know the word in Chinese, you just say the English word.
Yeah, and
So like little small goals like that.
the problem with that too is that I definitely do try to. I don't know if you can tell like when you've heard it. I try to keep it all in Chinese, but sometimes I'm just like, this conversation is gonna take 50% more time if I try to find this word. So
Hmm.
I'm just gonna, and it's only like maybe 10% or less of the words I'm saying, but um, yeah,
Oh, it's
still,
not very many. It's like every other sentence you have like a word or two. It's not often.
yeah,
But this
but
that was what 3 years ago since the last time I've heard you do that. Um, but yeah, well, that's good. That's a good goal to have. I've just been deep in the applying for work and having interviews and then having discussions about like benefits and pay and work-life balance and all that fun workplace things.
is that is the nice thing with everything I've said about like how I'm getting out and everything. That is the nice thing about the military is you don't have a discussion or a basically negotiation about your pay and
Hmm.
benefits. They're like, this is what you get. Um,
Hmm.
so it is tougher in your shoes having to like actually weigh out the pros and cons. But
See, it's not hard. Those conversations are not hard to me. They're just more like kind of awkward because I'm coming from a point of like a new grad and I technically in their eyes have like zero experience. Even though I've like been working for the past 8 months. Of those 8 months, probably 6.5 of those months I've been like on or near a full caseload. So like I feel like I have a bunch of experience, but like just being a new grad, in the eyes of the owners and other companies, it seems like you have zero experience. But like I've been able to negotiate pretty well, I think. And there's been a couple jobs that have given like I've negotiated for pretty good offers. More than I thought I would, honestly. Like I don't know. I think not too many people in my career like negotiate that well, and I think just the fact that I can have like some negotiating power and I can like have reasoning behind what I'm saying and like they're not just like blowing it off is kind of cool. It's like the whole like I put time and effort into researching of like how much I think I'm worth and able to like negotiate it and like get something that I want. That's pretty cool.
I think that's probably the one benefit of business school. And I know you weren't in the business school like later on, but like the one benefit is I don't think I don't think we formally learned it, but I think just the experiences we had, like, with the social clubs or like the, business frats or whatever. Like I've noticed with other people, a lot of people just, I mean, maybe it's a military thing, maybe it's, just certain demographics, but a lot of people just can't communicate, right? They just struggle with getting their point across. And I mean, obviously, I'll search for words sometimes. I'm not like super verbose, but um, I do think that like the level of social interaction you get from like business school
Mhm.
far exceeds other like disciplines in that sense.
Well, because that's all you learn in business school, truly. Like, there's not like too many hard skills that you learn in business school. Most of it's social, and most of it's like dynamics between people. I think that's the biggest benefit of joining business school. Like, yeah, I mean, like, I had a business minor, and you went through the actual full program. I learned how to use Excel at a passable level, and I think that was my biggest skill benefit that I've learned from business school. But like most of what I learned was just how to have a conversation, how to piece together um, what you're trying to say, and to figure out like what the goal of the conversation is. Because like when you're having like a networking event or just meeting somebody for the first time and you're trying to establish like a professional relationship, there's a goal to the conversation, and you're trying to figure out what that goal is, and making sure that you're very clear about like what your goal there is and what their goal is.
I've noticed that with like presentations or whatever, or like I guess military is like briefs, right? Like some people will give like a little brief on what they're trying to information they're trying to get across. And
Hmm.
myself and my boss, I guess like we've been in, we were in like virtual meetings or whatever, and sometimes he would ping me and I would ping him like a message. I'm like, dude, like I can't stand the way this guy presents, right? Like it's like someone they don't know what information they're trying to get across. They're just reading paragraphs off a slide. I'm like, man,
Hmm.
it's absolutely inane, like listening
It's
to
like,
some people
yeah,
talk.
yeah. When you have somebody give a presentation and they're just reading like bullet points or paragraphs, just word for word off the screen, that's just a good sign that they don't know what they're talking about either, and they're just trying to get the presentation done and over with. The people that have like really good presentations are people that are able to say more and able to communicate effectively at a level that's just beyond what's on the slide. So it's just like the important things are on the slide, but then they can use all of the filler words and transitions, and they can come back home to the main point that they're trying to present. And I've noticed like the best presenters typically are the most concise. Like if you have a presentation over a subject, and it could be if it's an hour presentation or a 45-minute presentation, I feel like those generally are too long. If you can get something like in 10 to 15 minutes and keep the people's attention and just say what you need to say and get out of there, I feel like that's a much better use of everybody's time.
I'd always cut mine whenever I'd fill in for my boss or whatever at a meeting, and
Mhm.
everyone else would be given 5, 10 minute talks, and I'd talk for maybe like a minute or a minute and a half. And I'd get made fun of a little bit because people would be like, I can tell you're trying to get out of this presentation, but like the same people would be like, everyone follow that. Like we don't want to be here listening to you like talk about some super hyper specific subject matter that no one else gets. Just like
Mhm.
just give us the wave tops. Just don't waste our time, basically. And I
You,
think that's the
here
big
are
thing,
the here are the five things that you need to know. Just give me that information and move on. Next person, next presentation. Get out of here.
I will say though, conciseness aside, I think business school did teach me like my ability to BS is far beyond what most people's is. Like I can I've had a few times where like I'll get a message the morning of, be like, hey, like I'm not gonna be able to make it to this meeting. I need you to fill in and brief it. And I'll be like, okay,
Hmm.
cool. And I don't really know what half the things that I'm supposed to brief are about, or I'm not really filled
Hmm.
in. And I business school teaches you to be able to BS a little bit, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so you can kind of put enough buzzwords in there to get through.
You play a little bit of improv. You're just like, okay, I have like 10 to 20% of the information that I actually need, and we're just gonna kind of fill in the rest. I'm gonna tell you what I know, and then I'm gonna throw some filler words in there to make it sound intelligent.
Yeah, so we actually prepared some conversation topics. Speaking of BSing, um,
Uh oh.
actually prepared some conversation topics. I guess I can start with one.
Okay.
It's not serious or political or anything, which I know everyone expects. Um, and then what we can go into yours that you prepared. But I don't know if you've
Okay.
been seeing this advent of I believe it's Italian brain rot. Have you been seeing?
I've not been seeing Italian brain rot.
So I'm gonna pull it up, um, and you can search it as well if you want to. Just for the viewers, it's basically like AI generated images, um, with different Italian names. So there's one. It's a shark with Nikes on called
Okay.
Tralalero Tralala. Um,
Okay.
there's a banana that has the face of a monkey called Chimpanzee Bananini. Um, so basically, I've been seeing. I don't know if you were able to pull it up, but basically,
I've seen a couple of them.
and I don't have. My algorithm isn't brain rot. I do have a friend, Braden at work. Her algorithm is true brain rot. She's like this, like one of the few people in our generation, and I did make fun of her for it. But I've been seeing a lot. I have been seeing a handful of those pop up, and I know they're really popular right now. And I don't. I guess it just brings it to the general brain rot conversation, right? Because like obviously this is the next level. This is like AI. It's not even really uh like a lot of effort put into it to create some brain rot that doesn't make sense. I I don't know what it is about brain rot. Or like, is it in your opinion? Do you think it's like a truly just we are getting dumber? Like this is actually starting to like affect us, and this is kind of a product of our capabilities as humans, or is there some kind of explanation? Because brain rot in general is such an, I wouldn't say interesting phenomenon. It's not interesting. It's really stupid,
Mhm.
but um, it is weird how our generation has so much of it. Like that's what's funny to us, I guess.
I think I'm gonna compare brain rot to like food. Like these AI images, they're like fun to look at, and they're kind of addictive because they're pretty fun, they're goofy. It's not things you would ever think about. Like I'm looking at one now that's Chef Crabara Cadabra, and It's a chef that's a crab that's just like making a meal. Like it's goofy, it's kind of funny, it's addictive. And then I scroll down. Next thing I see is a pig that's about ready to explode because he's half of a bomb. The next thing I see is a lizard head on a plane, and he's like dropping a nuke. It's like very addictive, but it's kind of like candy in the sense of like it's like not that good for you. Like I'm not gathering anything from this information. I'm just kind of like, oh, ha ha ha. This is a funny image, as opposed to like when I go to like a museum or I like look up or I've got friends that do art and they send me their work. I'm like actually moved by their work. I see like the goal. I see what they went for. I see the emotion that they're putting in. This isn't giving me any sort of emotion outside of haha funny meme. And I think that it's both addictive, probably not too bad if you're not consuming it too much, but then I feel like it could be really bad if this is all the content that you're consuming. Very similar to candy. Like candy, it's good, it's addictive, probably not that bad for you if you're just having like a Snickers bar like once a week, whatever, no big deal. But if the only thing that you're eating is Snickers bars, you're going to get fat. You're not going to feel great. Your body needs more nutrients than what's available for Snickers bars. And we're like real art made by other artists that have like that serve some sort of a purpose, whether that be through like music or paintings or 3D art or movies or shows or music or any sort of those mediums. Those are more like a healthy like dinner that like your family would made, or if you were to go out to a restaurant. This is probably the nutritious thing that you should be consuming more of.
So I definitely understand. Like I think I see it from the same angle you do. I kind of see it more of like like you said, it's fun, it's quick, it's kind of like just a product of our generation's like instant dopamine hit. The instant
Mhm.
gratification. But like I I don't know. I feel like there's no real upside. right? Like I don't know what real arguments there are to be made about these being like worthy uses of time. That's actually like no joke. It's because Aiden sent me a few of these that I was like, all right, it's time to like not like put the phone down and learn some Chinese or like, fill my brain with something more useful. Because
It's like I've had enough. This is so much BS.
I only saw like two or three of the reels and then I like remembered like two or three of the names of the characters and I was like, this is not okay. Um, this is not good for me, like you were saying. And I I don't know. Do you see it? Do you see this trend just growing, like for in perpetuity? Is this something that our generation
Yeah,
just will be known for?
yeah. I mean, we've seen the trends with like other social media and content in general. Content is getting shorter and shorter because our attention spans are getting shorter and shorter because we get greater hits of dopamine, or maybe not greater hits, but we get more consistent hits of dopamine with the fast form content. Like, and I feel like it's just an easy cash grab and easy attention getter. Um, and unfortunately, with the rise of like um, short form content like TikTok and Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts and like I'll go on YouTube as and I one of my things that I like to do is like I'll put like on a longer YouTube video and set the phone down and just kind of listen to it while I do other things, whether that be like cleaning or going on a walk or like doing some like mindless busy work. But I've noticed more recently where I'll go on the YouTube app and I'll find like a reel that sounds like kind of interesting, and then I'll watch the reel. I'm like, oh, that is pretty cool, and then I'll swipe. I'll watch the next one, pretty interesting. Swipe, 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 and then before I know it, 45 minutes go by. I'm just like, what the hell? I had plans, I had things that I wanted to do, but then I got distracted, and I think it is very addictive, and I think it's going to get continuously more hard to get out of that cycle of addictive technology. And I don't feel like that's like too much of a hot take or anything. Like it's addictive. It's hard to get out of.
It honestly feels like a little dystopian already. I know
Hmm.
people talking about AI in general, and we've beat the AI horse to death already, talking about it. But like with brain rot and then these, the reels, because I'm guilty of it too. I woke up at 8:45 this morning. I didn't leave my room until 9:45 to go do my run because I just sat there on like reels or shorts or whatever it is, right? So I I think that it already feels like one of those dystopian novels where we just sit here and just get fed content by our phones, just
Yeah.
constantly doing just damage to us. And it's one of those problems where like I think generally me and you try to solve some of the problems we bring up. I don't think there's a solving of this one, right? Like it's kind of like social media. Maybe you could say there's some kinds of solutions or some kind of fallbacks, but just like the quick hits of dopamine, short form content. I mean, and we're guilty of it because we're starting to implement shorts. We got to get viewership somehow. Um, so we're playing into the system, but I don't really think there's like a fix to it, right? I think it's just something that we've kind of made our bed in that sense,
Hmm.
and I think we're worse for it.
I think so too. Because you don't really, or at least I don't. I don't remember anything, or I don't learn anything from the short content that I consume. Like my TikTok feed is typically just like it's kind of like nerdy. It's kind of like not that interesting, but it's mostly just like music or poetry or some like abstract philosophy. And I'm very happy that's my TikTok algorithm because I can only do it for about 5 minutes before I'm just like, okay, because it requires a little bit more thinking than some other algorithms. So it's just like, okay, by the time I get through like my 10th scroll, so like 5 minutes into it, I'm just like, okay, I've had enough. I've consumed some content, but I still don't remember most of anything. I kind of like generally remember how I was feeling while the videos were playing, but I don't necessarily learn anything. Every now and again, if there's like, I think this is a good part of it, where like I've been introduced to more movies and more books that I've read because like somebody will like be talking about a book and I'm just like, oh, I'm gonna go read that book because this person on this app then and it's somebody that I don't know, but he's got a great review of the book, and he seems like a nice guy, so I'm gonna go read the book because he told me to. I think that's pretty cool. Uh, but yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm not really on the book marketing side. I mean, I've been trying to read more. I did start reading again. I think I mentioned over
Mhm.
deployment, but um, I think the only benefit I've got is the only ads I get on Instagram, which is nice, is like music. It's like artists promoting their songs. So I found like a lot of new music off of that. But I think I've only received downsides from exposure to new media because I'll get a clip of. I watched all of Dexter over deployment because I saw it, on YouTube Shorts. That was all that was there for a bit, was just clips of Dexter. I started
Mhm.
rewatching the regular show, because I kept getting clips
Oh,
of that.
cool.
So I'm on like season 7 now over the past 2 weeks. Um, and so I wouldn't say I've benefited too much from the exposure to new content, but
Mhm.
I guess it like that is kind of a nice thing. It's that like connectivity, and I mean, I guess that's like the vision of the internet, right? Like to keep us connected, to expose us to new ideas and all this. But I just think that there's such a there's such an influx now, and even back in the day, like the heyday of YouTube when it was like Niga Higa, Freddie W, Kev Jumba, Chester C, Ray William Johnson, right? Like the big, when the big personalities started coming around, you could spend a lot of time on YouTube, but you're only consuming this stuff as quick as people produce it. But now there's thousands of gaming channels, and they're producing 3 hours of content a day, and then you've got the AI now, where we're just pumping out just constant. I mean, I was trying to search up a certain cat video to show someone at work, and I searched up like some cat video, like with a description, and it was probably 20 straight AI videos from just like different channels that were just pumping out
No,
AI content.
nothing frustrates me more than AI ads. Nothing will like make me click off of something faster than like hearing the monotone AI, and it's just like asking a question of like, have you seen this thing? Do you know who this person is? And it's typically like with stuff that I'm interested in. So it's like whether it be like anime or cartoons or like TV shows, it'll be like, yeah, this character did this thing. What do you think about it? And um, it it annoys me. I get very frustrated, and I don't like that AI is just taking over all like a decent chunk of media production.
It's one of those things there too, where like maybe I'm just not in the like maybe we're just not in the demographic that is drawn in by it, because I've noticed I'm very like resistant to marketing, right? Like I've never actually, you know, bought into some marketing scheme. It'll be like some product that I'm actually interested in, and then maybe it'll remind me, I'm like, oh, like maybe I want to re-up on this or try this one as a substitute. But I've never bought into marketing, so maybe we're just more resistant to it. And it
Well,
does work on some
I mean,
people.
like I think like a certain type of marketing works on you because you'll buy certain types of like gym brands because you like the people that produce the content that own that gym or like own that content, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a certain subset, right? But it's
Hmm.
kind of I kind of equate it to, it's more of a substitution, where it's like I was going to buy clothes anyways, but this got me to buy this product instead. Whereas like now a lot of ads, like you said, AI ads or AI products, or just in general, like things, or the mobile game ads or whatever. I've never once looked at that and been like, I want to play this game. I want to buy this product. Or like something that was
It
new in my life. I don't want to,
yeah,
I've never decided to introduce something new because
yeah.
of a video.
I've definitely done that before. Like the famous uh like 3D animated game where it's like guys just like shooting numbers and then you can get like better guns or more people, and like the ad that they're showing is never like the game that they're promising. I've definitely done that a couple times because I was just like I was very curious, I was very bored, and I was just like, oh yeah, I've got nothing better to do for like 2 hours, let's just see how this game is. I'll download it and it's nothing like the ad suggests, and I just get very frustrated and I'm like, they got my ass,
Problem is
they got my info.
some people, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, right? Like I've been tempted, right? Like I'll see the game. I can't remember what it's called, but the exact game you're talking about, where it's guys shooting at numbers or whatever, and then you walk through
Yeah,
it and you get more guys or a better gun.
yeah.
And like I've like almost been tempted by it, but a lot of those games too, you click on one of those games, and every 10 seconds they have an ad pop up. And I know people who will like play those games consistently, mobile games consistently, and they'll be like, yeah, I play this all the time. The ads are annoying, but I don't want to spend $1 to get rid of the ads. I'm like, so you're spending an extra hour a day just sitting through mobile ads. Like it's,
Yeah.
but they're willing to do that. And I guess maybe some people are less resistant to it. They don't really care about the marketing, or maybe they've, I guess, progressed to the point like we talked about. This was months ago, but um, kind of phenomenon where like as a defense mechanism, our generation kind of just blocks out information. And I do think I fall into that category a little bit, right? Like I think I don't retain information as well as I'd like to. Like even things I'm learning or like from classes back in the day, I data dump way faster than I would like. Um,
Hmm.
but I think that could be a phenomenon too, is like this AI and stuff. Our generation is just so good at blocking it out now that
Hmm.
we don't really have an issue with it. But it's the same thing with, remember, like I think these have gone away a little bit, but like Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts where they have a podcast on the top and then someone playing a mobile game at the bottom. Where like I don't know where the demand signal was for that. Like no one was asking for that.
It's ADHD, brother. It's people. It's kids that can't focus on more than that need like multiple sources of uh, dopamine hits at the same time. So they'll have a video of somebody talking, and then like there'll be like two games going on at the same time, and it's you can just like stay on that video, and it's typically like a longer video. It's like a minute video on TikTok, and it make sure that you watch the entire thing because you're like curious about the game, and then you're also kind of interested about what the people are saying, and it's like the perfect thing too because um you don't retain anything from it if you're diverting your attention to multiple different um outputs. You're not going to be maintaining any sort of information from what you're consuming. I think short form content's bad. But while saying that, I still find myself using it quite frequently, more than I would like. Like even as somebody that like tries to actively avoid it, I still find myself like, oh yeah, I'll just spend a couple minutes here, and then those couple minutes become an hour.
It's one of those things though where do you, I guess as like a wrap up to this topic, do you think there's any amount of good that can come out of like short form content? I I've been leaning towards no. I'm leaning towards if we could wipe that trajectory and we could just go back to like content being and any content that's being consumed being those old YouTube videos, 15 minutes, talking about an actual topic, or even
Hmm.
I guess there used to be, I don't know if you ever watched these videos. It was like video games and like a commentary, but it was someone playing Call of Duty as they chatted about something for 20 minutes. Like
Hmm.
something that was more just took some time and
Yeah.
took some time out of someone's day to produce. Um,
Hmm.
I don't know. I would reset to that if
Yeah.
I could.
I mean, I would too. The only benefit that I've ever gotten, and this is kind of going off of the point I made earlier of if you have short form content that's essentially marketing for the longer form content, whether that be like a book or a video or a podcast, I think that's pretty good because I've definitely seen more longer form content that I would have either just like missed or not have like known anything about because of I wasn't exposed to the short form content. So like there's a decent amount of podcasts that like I would have just like completely missed out on, and like a bunch of like unique guests that I would have just not have been able to see or be able to see because of I it's just not in my regular algorithm, but it somehow showed up in my short form content algorithm, and I was able to like, oh, that seems like a cool video, I'll go put that on, or that's a cool movie, I'll go put that on, that's a cool book, I'll go read that.
I guess that's fair. As a pure marketing stance, I think I could see like when you're using them as ads, essentially, I could see the use for it. Like, I haven't explored the actual long form content yet, but I think Chris Williamson, I think that's one of the podcasts, right? Like where he
Love
has,
that guy. That's exactly who I was thinking of,
yeah, like
because he has wonderful guests on all the time, and he's a big podcaster, but he's not like the biggest. He's like maybe top 50, top 20, somewhere in that ballpark. Like he has a pretty big podcast, but I don't watch him consistently. But when he has like an interesting guest, or he goes on just like a 2 minute monologue, and he's making a bunch of good points, I'm like, damn. I wonder if he's like that the entire time. I kind of want to go watch that video. I want to go see if he's like completely dialed in because like he makes really awesome content.
That, as soon as you brought up podcasts, advertising for the long form, that's exactly when I thought of, seeing CBum on there or My Kids Will Tell or something, and like it'll
Mm-hmm.
immediately catch my attention. And like you said, I'll be like, okay, like I'm willing to explore the full breadth of knowledge or the full like range of topics they're talking about. But content that's pure, I think maybe this is my algorithm, maybe you get them as well. Content that's pure. It's about a video game or about a comic book. It'll show like stills of a comic book with AI voice
Mm-hmm.
over it, and it'll be like, this happened in this story, and it's 30 seconds. And I hate myself that I've seen a few of them, and like I watched through the full thing because I was curious, like what did the
Mm-hmm.
Flash do when Batman did this thing? Like like I was like, oh, like I what did he do?
Yeah,
But that content I think is truly just a blight on the content creation.
and because like I'm a comic fan, and I've read a numerous amount of like comic series and anime series, and like when I see like some small comic made by like some unknown artist, and it's like pretty good art, and it's got like an interesting story. But like if I see it with like the AI voiceover, it it catches me and it works on me and it pisses me off that it works so well because like anytime there's like a comic with AI voiceover, even though I hate it and I despise it and I hate every single bit about it, it catches me. I'll watch the entire video. I don't care.
I mean, there used to be like good versions of that, right? It used to be like, someone I've seen a few of the videos, to be like a 15-minute video where some commentator is like talking about a full story, right? They'll go through a full comic like what was it the Batman Who Laughed, whatever, right? That like that
Hmm.
was like I remember there was like a video, it was like, hey, we're going over the full story. This is what happens. They're basically telling a story versus
Hmm.
like I'm going over 10 panels and having AI narrate it, and that's all you get out of it.
Hmm.
There's no added narrative. There's no here are my thoughts on this character. There's no how good was this writing. It's
Hmm.
just I'm going to explain this fact to you, and you're going to just keep it, and you're going to retain it for about 30 seconds afterwards, and that's all you
Hmm.
get out of it. And now I wasted two
Yeah,
minutes of your day.
yeah. I mean, speaking on that particularly, that was one of my um, nighttime habits that I was doing for a little bit, where I'd put on videos by Comics Explained, and he would go through like an entire comics run of like a particular story, and he would spend like hours, and it's like it's long form. He's breaking down the comic, he's breaking down the panels, he's referencing old comics that like are the reason why certain characters are a way that they are in this comic series because of previous stories that weren't covered in this series. And it's like it's cool, it's fascinating, and I'm generally a fan of long form content. It's just unfortunately that uh, the way that the how short form content is becoming more and more popular, uh, people are going to be more naturally drawn to the quicker dopamine hits.
Yeah, it is a shame. I wish people would, like our artistry has kind of gone by the way. I mean, obviously there's people that still do it, but artistry as a whole, I feel like the industry of content creation is kind of just it's just declined. I mean, I don't think there's any way to really get around it. Um,
Hmm.
I don't know if there's coming back from it, but that's a depressing take, I guess, to end our Italian brain rot talk on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Generally, when change happens, I'm under the mindset. And I was talking with a friend about this not too long ago. I mean, heck, it was probably yesterday, where we were talking about he's become of the mindset where like even though like things always are constantly changing, in the grand scheme of things, nothing changes. Like you're still gonna go to work, you're still gonna do what you need to do. Your plans really don't change that much. Yeah, there's minor inconveniences that happen. Yeah, there's some good things that happen, but generally things stay relatively the same because we as people learn to adapt to those things. So, like I don't know. I just kind of like if there's big news that strikes, I'm like, oh well, whatever. Just let things happen. Maybe it'll be good. Maybe it'll be bad. I don't know. I've still got the things that I can control, which is like my sleep, my workouts, how I treat my patients, how much I work, how much effort I can put into those around me, and I think that's generally more important than a lot of the going ons of the world.
I mean, I think me and you have had that made that stance a lot of like most of the time we bring politics is that me and you are pretty unbothered by the big shifts in the world just because
Yeah.
like yeah, it's going to affect us at some point, but like we're our daily lives aren't going to change. We can't control it. So what's the point in thinking about it, I guess. I mean, I guess there's a point in thinking about it, but what's the point in dwelling on it? You know?
Like it's nice to be informed and it's nice to have like good conversations and like it broaden your worldview. Um, but like at the end of the day, you can only control you yourself. And if that's something you want to get really passionate about, go for it. But if you're getting really passionate about it, try to make the change. Try to be the change at whatever level that you think is appropriate. And speaking of how things never change, um, I have become a changed person, Dave.
Oh, yeah.
I took the political compass test. I'm not where I thought I would be.
I one sec. Let me guess. I think for sure you land on like the lib side, right? Like libertarian or whatever,
Yeah,
or what is it?
yeah. Libertarian. That's one of them.
What do you like? Because it's what? Authoritarian, libertarian, and then left and right, right?
Uh, let's see if I can. Yeah, yeah. Images. Yeah, so it's authoritarian, libertarian, and then left and right on the economic scale.
I would take a guess. I think before you said it wasn't where you landed, I would say you were like a lib right, I guess.
Hmm.
I would still say I would still make a guess to say you're lib like center more, or
I'm a lib lefty.
oh, like full left.
Well, like two boxes over, so it's like yeah. I still like if there were like markers of like okay, so here's the center, and then you move like a couple boxes over. I still find that to be like the moderate area. Like I still feel like I fall within the moderate area, but definitely like I'm far not far, like a quarter of the way down libertarian and then like a tad bit over in the left.
What is this? What
But
implications does this have on your day-to-day life? What do you think?
nothing. I was talking with somebody about this and they said, "Yeah, there's been like some controversy about the political compass test because the person that created it was generally more left leaning, and they had their biases towards like right leaning ideology. And so when there was ever like a right leaning ideology question, it was like it would ask you a question like, let's see if I can. I'll just pull up a question here.
I will say
One of
so
the
so
like some of the questions were just like, do you like people or do you hate people? Do you want people to die or do you want people? It was like questions like if you chose there was obviously like an evil answer, and the evil answer was like like more conservative viewpoints, and it's like yes, but like under what context? I felt like some of the questions were like very bad and like didn't encompass the entire scope of the issue that they were trying to get you to follow. Um, but
I
yeah,
do remember
and I don't
when
think I
when
don't think it changes anything, but I thought it was very interesting.
when I took that test, I remember thinking that because I obviously was very, in high school, I was very conservative type, very like, right leaning. And I remember as I was taking it in high school, I was like, yeah, this is very clearly biased. And I mean, I don't think any moderate or any reasonable person can read those questions and be like, okay, there's no bias in here because they are worded very clearly to imply bias. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I'll have to bring my results to the next episode and see where I land. Um,
Like one of the first questions is like our race has many superior qualities compared to other races.
yeah, that's
Like what? What do you mean? What do you mean by that? I'd always support my country, whether it's right or wrong.
see like.
Like, what do you mean? Like, yeah, like I can love my country, but I also don't have to enjoy its decisions.
I I think that's like the hardest thing about um those kinds of discussions. I mean, there's no real like fair way to present like a question like
Yeah,
that. Like, well, I
yeah,
mean, also I don't know exactly like how their algorithm gets into to placing people, but like that those questions don't imply anything about a person because like if you say I always support my country, whether even if it's completely wrong, like if you agree with that, you're like
you're just an idiot.
that
You're an
speaks
idiot.
yeah, that speaks to your intelligence, not anything about your political leanings. Or like you should immediately be disqualified from being able to like talk at that point.
Yeah, yeah. There were like some really good questions on here, uh, like this one here is like it's asking if you strongly disagree, disagree, agree, or strongly agree. So there's no like moderate option either. There's no like it depends. You kind of have to lean one way or the other, but which kind of makes sense. But as somebody that lives on the it depends side of things, um, this was harder than it should have been for me. But like this question here, I really liked it. Ultimately, people are more divided by class than by nationality.
Oh yeah,
Completely,
100%.
completely,
Yeah,
completely agree.
100%.
The poor whites and the poor blacks, the poor Hispanics, they have a lot more in common than the rich whites or the rich blacks or the rich any other nationality. Uh,
What do
yeah,
you think about so I've pulled this up as well. I guess we can pick a few interesting ones. And
yeah.
what do you think about this is a very general question, more philosophical I think than anything about politics. Just the enemy of my enemy is my friend. That's such
Enemy
a
of
strong it
my enemy.
depends.
Yeah, I mean, like just because the enemy of my enemy doesn't like the guy I don't like doesn't mean we have the same interests. If both of those people are bad and I think of myself as good, that doesn't. Yeah, no, I think it depends. It
I
depends on
think
what we're
it's
talking about.
I think it might even be more likely that they're also just your enemy at that point. Like I
Yeah,
feel like with I mean if we're talking like nations or whatever, like just saying that two nations are friend oh maybe I'm getting too political. Um maybe maybe this is treading in
uh,
dangerous water. But
no, no, but like we could make it about a country thing. So like, what's the U.S. always has had like iffy relationships with like China and Russia. Okay, so the enemy of China and Russia that's not the U.S. would be like other countries in NATO, which then I would generally consider NATO to be our friend. I feel like that's fair.
yeah, but I don't know. I think that's kind of what we're seeing with like the whole tariff thing, right? And I don't know enough about tariffs and economics and politics to speak intelligently on it, but like
But then on another point, let's say your enemy with like just like a really bad person. Okay, but that bad person has like slighted somebody else and made another enemy, but that other enemy that he's made is like a serial killer or like somebody that just like I don't know, like really bad, committed a lot of white collar crime. That doesn't make us friends. He could also be. That's a it depends question.
do you have one that yeah, I think it's two it depends on the one.
Yeah.
What other ones do you got on here that you find interesting?
Uh, controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment.
Also a I didn't remember enough from economics. I'd say because I just got that question. I'm actually taking it right now as we're going through this.
Okay. Okay.
Um, I'd say I agree. I think that like yeah, people always talk about unemployment and it sucks, whatever. But like I think that inflation being harmful to pretty much everyone outside of like the wealthy is worse than unemployment hitting. Because like bad inflation is worse than bad unemployment, I think.
Yeah. I feel like inflation kind of controls unemployment in a way. So
Yeah.
like if you have higher rates of inflation, companies are be like, okay, we have to start cutting costs. What are the first thing that happens when companies start to cut costs? They increase the amount of people that they fire and get out of there, which increases unemployment. So I feel like if we're using like trickle down economics, which is kind of iffy, very iffy, uh, at best, I would say that inflation kind of correlates unemployment. Not necessarily that it causes it, but there's definitely a correlation there.
Do you so I also don't know enough about trickle. I'm basically just saying all the things I don't know anything about. But
Hey, that's
trickle.
that's why we made the podcast. That's why we made the podcast. It's two idiots talking about things that we know nothing about, and then just giving our blunt opinion.
So yeah, so trickle down economics. I don't know enough about like the actual implications. I know like the general broad statement, but I think we've discussed before how I've said like the whole tide that raises all boats, I guess.
Hmm.
And I used to be a pretty strong proponent of that. And I feel like I'm less of a strong proponent these days. Like I think like with all the stats I've seen about like, hey, the 1% controls more wealth than the entire middle class combined. Like as soon as I hear that, I'm like, well, now I'm not sure, right? Like I I I think that my stance on that has changed a little bit. On like, hey, if the top people get improved, then bottom is dragged up. Just because um I do think like political leanings of different countries aside and whatever the commentator was saying, there was some I saw some clip of a news anchor interviewing some guy from China or whatever, right? And he was basically saying like talking about the tariffs, and he was like, yeah, like your country robbed you blind, and you thanked them for it because they had like the 1% basically just improved their lives, bought jets, bought mansions, and none of it went to you, right? Like they kept getting richer, they kept BlackRock, all this. They kept buying more real estate. They made life
Hmm.
unlivable, and minimum wage is still 7.25, for example, right? Like I think like after hearing those kinds of stances and seeing it play out in the Luigi Mangione and all of that, I think there is
Yeah,
a stance now that I hold, which is like I don't know if the people at the top getting richer is actually benefiting anyone else.
like I feel like the richer that you are, you have a greater capacity to do more good. But the people at the top don't always do that. And I think that's where the issue becomes is like you have to think of the personalities of people that their goal is to gain as much money as possible. They're going to be a little bit less, potentially less giving to others because they were able to, I don't know, strap themselves up by their bootstraps and march their way to the top. And they believe potentially that other people can do the exact same thing as them, and that's not always necessarily true.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean that's like the whole American dream thing, right? Where it's just like you can come to our country and make a better life for yourself, but then you get to a point where like some people can have a significantly better life than anybody else, i.e., like Elon Musk, Bill Gates. Um, like yeah, they've done a lot of good, but there was like a what was the number? It was like if you were to make $100,000 every single day since the time that Jesus was born, you would still not have the wealth that Elon Musk has.
yeah.
Absurd thing,
Like once you
absurd thing to
once you
think
start
about.
once you start putting the top of the top and the 1% in perspective, like with
Mhm,
numbers like that, like
mhm.
it's kind of unthinkable that like that's like we're saying like we're far more divided by class than anything else, right? And like that's why everyone's always by the way, just for record, I don't think Luke and I are depressed. I don't think there's any signs. Just
Yeah,
put it out
I'm
there.
pretty happy
Yeah,
right
I
now.
don't think I'd ever not want to be alive. Um, just in case. But I think that like there's been a lot of talk, um about how the people at the top, try to cover up, whether it be race or whether it be political party. Like that's the goal, right? That's the goal is for us to be divided on that because we don't. if two people at the bottom, working class, are worried about what the other one believes on marriage or guns or abortion, they don't really have the time to uh focus on the people that are
The
controlling all
actual
of it.
the actual issues,
Yeah,
the things going on in the background.
yeah, and I don't know. I am glad that I think that's something that is becoming more fleshed out. I think there is a little bit of like a awakening going on where like more people are starting to realize. I think ever since, obviously we weren't developed enough to really understand Occupy Wall Street and all that back in
Mm,
the 2000s. But I think there is a little more of a general societal shift towards realizing like, hey, like these people have a lot and we don't,
mm,
and they're still telling us we're evil because of what we believe. Like that's
yeah.
yeah, I am glad there's more of a shift towards people realizing at least. I don't know if there's a shift towards anything actually happening or any real revolution of the classes or whatever, but at least people are starting to kind of think for themselves a little bit and
Hmm.
really put into perspective.
Yeah.
What's your
No.
what?
Good. No, you go.
I was just going to ask about the next question.
Um. How about you just kind of throw out some like interesting questions as you kind of go along,
Sure.
so I can ramble along a little bit, and if you find anything particularly interesting, you can
I'll probably
throw it
try to
out
keep
there.
it generally away from the more economic questions just because a lot of these I don't really understand the implications of, and I feel like it's just gets more into economical science than our actual beliefs. Um,
Economics is just supply and demand.
yeah, monkeys,
That's all
monkey
that
and
is.
banana.
Monkey and banana. If monkey
From
has a lot of banana, price of banana go down. If monkey has less banana, price of banana goes up because it's deemed as more valuable.
monkey sad.
Monkey
Um,
sad.
how about so this is maybe just this is a more political one. From each according to his ability to each according to his need is a fundamentally good idea.
I think I put agree for that.
I think I
That's
I,
that's
I kind of
that's the
bounce
idea.
between, right? It's like
Oh,
a
okay,
communism,
go ahead.
right? Like because I think I do agree. Like the one below that is the freer the market, the freer the people, and I agree with that one, right? Because I think that like not strongly agree, but I do agree that a free market is more beneficial than an unfree market, right? Like
Yeah.
in the end, one is better than the other if we're comparing it relative. But
Mhm.
like from each according to his ability to each according to his need is kind of like a that's such an idealistic standpoint where it's like completely against free market, right? It's completely against um, capitalism, and I don't think
Mhm.
capitalism is not a beautiful thing. It's produced a lot of bad, but I also don't think I think maybe because I'm just taking like the human factor into it. Um,
Mhm.
I think once you factor in the human side, like I don't know, it seems like the better option, like the lesser
Mhm.
of two evils to me.
Mhm.
But that one I could balance between agree or disagree on that one. I think in a perfect world I would agree.
Yeah.
In an imperfect human world, I think I disagree.
In an imperfect human world. Yeah, I
So
can see
I
that.
I think I'll put agree because I think it is a fundamentally like I don't think it's a bad idea fundamentally, but I don't think it's ever uh, a possibility.
Yeah.
When you think
And
about,
you were alluding to the freer the market, the freer the people.
mhm,
Yeah, I mean, as you were saying earlier, I think it's generally good. It's better than the alternatives, but it's not the best because we've seen the downfalls of capitalism in our country and like its shortcomings for sure. So I feel like that would make it a very hard, strong, very hard, strongly agree. Like I don't think you can put that. Maybe you can. I don't know. I don't think I could.
I don't think I've put really like maybe one out of every 10 I've put strongly. Like it's not.
Yeah.
I definitely used to put strongly on all of these when I used to take this.
Yeah.
And I matured a little bit since I was 16, luckily. What do you think about land shouldn't be a commodity to be bought and sold?
Yeah, buy and sell land. Why not?
So you agree or disagree? I mean,
I disagree. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, that's another one of those things where it's like I disagree, and I think that property ownership is good, right? Like I think that people not being able to just take whatever they want is good. It's a good thing for society. But at the same time, like you got I haven't done enough research into it, but like BlackRock, right? Like price of houses is absolutely absurd, and our generation, most of our generation, probably won't own a house, like
Mhm.
fully own a house. And even if you own a house, you don't really own it. Like that's kind of the whole thing.
That's that's the tricky thing. Like, yeah, you quote unquote own the land, but if the government wanted to come in for any reason that they just deem to come in, they can just take your land and take it away from you.
Yeah, just eminent domain. It's theirs, right? Like I think
Yeah.
that's the flaw with it. Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, so it's like shouldn't okay, land shouldn't be a commodity to be bought and sold. I think from the consumer, yes. But then like exactly what you were saying earlier with like BlackRock and how they're slowly but surely destroying the housing market. That's bad. That's not good. I wish BlackRock would just stay out of family housing. That would be kind of cool, BlackRock, please. I want to buy a house. I don't want to be a rentoid forever.
I yeah, I this country is in a tough spot. Um, how about those with the ability to pay should have access to higher standards of medical care.
Ooh, okay. So I had a good conversation with somebody about this exact question. I think there's two perceived form of things. I'm starting to lean more and more into the fact that healthcare should be a human right, just because I work in healthcare. I was kind of against it for a long time, but then just starting to see how the medical system works and how people are not getting the medical treatment that they need, either by ways of typically insurance companies and income, and then they are just like not given the care that they need, and they have a worse life because of it. I think is bad. Um, but if I were to play like devil's advocate, and this is what I was kind of doing the other day, it's like that you have like this bubble of like standard medical care, right? I think everybody should be able to get that. But then you have like this little circle over here that's kind of like more on the off end, or like maybe like harder to achieve, whether that be like financially via like stem cells or legally because of stem cells, or like um, things of like that nature. So I was talking specifically with like a professional sports athlete, let's say like Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers got hurt. He's a multi-million dollar asset to the company that he's working for. He has access to the best doctors in the world, and he's able to go get stem cell injections. He's able to go on his ayahuasca trips. All things that are like generally deemed not like standard practice within like the medical sphere, but he can go do those things because he has the money to do so, because those things typically wouldn't be covered by insurance. And I think that if you have the money to do some of the treatments that aren't typically recognized by medical practice, fine, go off and do that. But like within that bubble of like standard practice, I think everybody should have the ability to do that, even if you're not a multi-million dollar athlete.
I agree. I got no gripes with anything you just said.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. So what was the question exactly? Sorry, I just went on a
It would
tangent. Those with the
basically.
ability to pay should have higher access. Um.
I think well, it says access to higher standards, which I do think is basically what you were saying, right? Because it's saying that everyone, I do agree, everyone should have a basic standard of like life-saving support. But
Mhm.
if you have the means, I think that if you have the means, likely you are in a higher like value production, or you're in a just a higher. I don't want to say value to society. It's like I don't really want to
Okay.
say that either, but
Let's let's take it back to COVID, right? When COVID was a big thing, and it was like blowing up, and the best treatment that we had before any vaccine came out was basically just like go home, rest, don't come to the hospital, we can't do anything for you. um just because there wasn't really like a cure. They're like, okay, just up your vitamins and pray and hope that it goes away. But then when the president got COVID, the president was injected with like multiple forms of like NAD treatments and other treatments that most other people weren't getting, just because he held a position of power and he had access to the best medical doctors. Like, and I agree that other people should have gotten a very similar form of care. I feel like since it wasn't within that standard practice, he was able to reach out and find like other avenues to go down.
But I do think like for because that was what I was thinking, right? Like political
Mhm.
figures or like you know like let's just say the president if we're going extremes. Like I think that
Mhm.
they're in a position where if anything bad happens to them, a lot of bad happens. Like regardless of who it is and whatever side they're on. If something bad
Mhm.
happens to the president of the United States, bad things happen to like the world, right? Like it's not like chaos is not great for the world, the
Yeah.
economy, the like civil unrest, all that. So I think
Mhm.
that they are in a position where, like I said, I hate. It's a bad way to put this, but it's the only way I can kind of can put it. Their outcomes, their health outcomes have more impact on more people, and therefore I think that there should be a level of priority. Maybe
Mhm.
if even if it's just like their own means providing it,
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
do agree that they should be provided that higher level.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's like a base standard medical care, but when it says like higher standards of medical care, like what does that mean? Like I work in the medical field. I don't know exactly what that means. Um like I understand there are like certain treatments that like insurance won't cover because it is more expensive, but that just tends to be the fault of insurance companies and not the medical providers themselves. Uh so I think that people should receive a standard form of treatment, whatever that is.
Yeah, but I do think that people who have the means shouldn't be locked out from being seeking
So,
out
but
privatized
then
better
on
care.
but then devil advocate question: should the people that can't afford it be locked out of better care? Should your police officer, firefighter, factory worker be locked out of like a certain amount of care because they can't afford it?
You're trying to catch me. You're trying to get a gotcha in a nice little clip that you
No,
can
no,
put on the
I
YouTube
know I'm
Shorts.
no, I'm just asking a question because these were the questions that were asked to me, and I was like a little befuddled. I was just like, that's not what I'm saying. But I ended up saying like something along the lines of like if a president or king or the leader of a country gets something and they have to take like get quote unquote the higher medical treatment, they should because they're technically a more important figure, but they're still people and we should treat people relatively equally. And like the jobs that I mentioned are more easily replaceable than the president of a country.
I think
I
that
feel like that's I don't feel like that's a hot take. But like should somebody's value be determined by the things that they produce to the world? That's an ethical question. That's a curious thing. I don't know.
I wouldn't say locked out, right? Like I think that is kind of a tricky way to word it. I would say
Mhm.
though, I think in assuming limited resources, I
Mhm.
think at that point the person with greater means or higher standing, I would defer to that, right? Like if it's unlimited resources or like not constrained resources, I would say that, like, yeah, everyone should receive like that firefighter, a police officer should receive the highest level of medical care to get them back up to 100%, right? But like,
Mhm.
let's say like there's one liver in all of the US and the president needs it and like a school teacher needs it.
Mhm.
It's like a terrible thing to say, but like, I don't really think it should be a toss up at that point. It shouldn't be a coin flip. It's like
Mhm.
the person that provides the greater value to the greatest amount of people. I think like is that egalitarianism? Is that like egalitarian? It's just like like the greatest good, right? Like I
Yeah.
think that at that point I would argue yes, they'd be locked out, but
Yeah.
only in a like a constrained resources standpoint. Like this is like it's a bad case, but it's a lesser of two evils kind of thing.
Mhm. Mhm. Gosh, I love making decisions based off of the lesser of two evils. Now, here's another question. Let's say you take that president and the school teacher, and the president has a bad liver because he's been drinking himself to death. He's got a stressful job running the country. He's just drinking himself to death. And the teacher has done nothing wrong. She's got a genetic defect with her liver, and she's healthy. She's the perfect teacher. She's the hometown hero. Does your answer change?
I think yes. I think years ago I would have said no, but I think
Okay.
yes because I think
Okay.
like our stance on the one we talked about healthcare, right? And we are saying like maybe like a three
Hmm.
strikes rule, right? Where it's like there is a level of personal responsibility to your life and how you lead it, and other people should not be punished and penalized for your poor decision making, right? So like I think that
Yeah.
equating it to the drug addict that ODs 4 times on the street and taking away resources from people that are shot for uh, by no fault of their own. I think that
Hmm.
even as the president, I think that like if there's a personal responsibility thing, like obviously this would never happen. Obviously he's going to get the treatment, right? But
Yeah. Yeah.
but I do think from a my moral stance would be that no, you did this to yourself, right? And the personal responsibility side, I think, outweighs anything else. I
It
think me and you are
it,
both
it,
very
outweigh,
strongly on that.
it outweighs the social responsibility.
I mean, if you're a president who's drinking themselves into liver failure, like, are are you the best choice for the country at that point, or like, are they really the best option at that point? Um,
He's a high functioning alcoholic.
yeah,
He gets
okay.
his job done.
I don't know. I think my stance would be no. I don't think status or position would outweigh like the circumstances. Um,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Dave, you're sounding like a liberal.
Yeah,
More and more like a liberal by the
I'm
second.
worried. I'm worried at the end of this at the end of this episode, we'll find out what I
D-
really am.
Dave, you're caring about people. What's going on?
We're gonna have such a crazy clickbait. We're gonna make a little thumbnail that's Dave is a liberal, and then we're gonna get so many clicks. I'll get I'll get all my followers back that I lost during the 2016 and 2020. Uh, here's a question. This is a good, just general philosophical one. An eye for an eye.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. I I think I agree. I wouldn't say strongly agree because I do think there are cases where if someone is like, I don't know, I think if it's a small slight, I think
Hmm.
those can devolve pretty quick. And I think most people aren't mature enough to recognize that it's an eye for an eye. But I do think agree, like when we're talking like crimes and stuff like that, obviously, eye for an eye, like you should,
Yeah.
I think
If
actually
if
more than
it's
that.
like without fallacy and 100% like with 100% accuracy, like a person did something wrong, then you should be able to punish them for the thing that they did wrong. But we live in an imperfect system, and that's not always the case. And some good people get punished for bad things, and some bad people don't get punished the way that they should be.
Yeah, and honestly, I saw a video, a clip of someone saying like, I guess it was Hammurabi's code, right? Where basically it should be more than an eye for an eye. It should be like a leg for an eye, or like a full limb, because like there should
Hmm.
be a deterrence factor.
Hmm.
Um, and you shouldn't get a benefit to being like the first mover on the crime.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, some of these are so. I got to one of the really biased ones just now, which is all people have their rights, but it is better for all of us that different sorts of people should keep to their own kind. I'm not going to speak on that one. Good parents
yes,
sometimes have this.
yes, David, you shouldn't be talking to me. You should keep to your own kind.
I'll keep. Whoa, I'm clipping that one. That's our next YouTube short. Uh, good. Good parents sometimes have to spank their children. Strongly agree.
Oh, you strongly agree. Okay.
I think that discipline, even if it's physical, some people say it's I, when they say spanking, a lot of people equate it to like hitting, and I think the whole thing with spanking is it's a disciplinary thing, right? There's no emotion behind it. It's a punishment for something you did wrong, right? It's a
Hmm.
learning experience. I think used in
No.
that case, I do agree.
So you say it's not an emotional experience. It's not an emotional experience for who?
The parent, there shouldn't be any emotion
Okay.
that goes into the spanking. It should be a
Okay.
purely like
So
transactional kind of thing.
so it's transactional for the parent, but what about for the kid?
Well,
Because
that's
I've got a fun game for you. Do you remember your spankings?
I remember a few of them. Yeah,
Do you remember most of them?
I'd I'd say so. Yeah, I didn't get spanked a ton. It
Okay.
was probably like I remember like three or four. I think that was all I had in my life
And why do you remember it?
because it was traumatizing.
So should you be traumatizing your children?
See, here's the thing though. I think if it's done well, right? Like the question poses it as good parents. So if it's done well, the parent should communicate to the child, like, here's what you did wrong. That's why this is wrong, and that's why this is happening. Right? Like
Hmm.
there should be a clear cause effect to it.
Hmm.
Like a lot of I think a lot of the gripes that people have with it is, in bad cases where it's they're the parent is taking it like I think Jordan Peterson had in his 12 Rules for Life basically like I don't remember the exact context, but basically saying like you should keep any consequences, good or bad, like directly related, right? It should be right after the action, whether you want to
Hmm.
reinforce it or discourage it. And I think like a lot of people's gripe with it is like a parent will basically dislike a child's behavior and then just internalize it and then take it out on the child later or do things like that, right? Like that's when it becomes emotional. That's when the parent is no longer making it a transactional thing. Um, I think that done right, like implying this is an educational experience as you're getting beat,
Hmm.
I think I think it's a positive thing. I don't think it's like
Okay.
I don't think it's a fully like, oh, we should be like promoting it, but I don't think it's a negative, and I don't think it should be
And,
discouraged.
and so why do you think a physical punishment is better off than like a mental punishment? So
I mean,
like a punishment that I had as a kid, which was significantly more torturous than a spanking, was sitting in the corner for
timeout.
30 minutes. Yeah, timeout, not timeout in the corner, standing, nose in the corner for 30 minutes. That was infinitely more just like I got the lesson. I understood. There was no like physical lashing. I wasn't terrified. I was just in misery the entire time. Like, and it gave me time to like process and calm down and think about like why I was put here. Sometimes it was bad. Sometimes I was just I had a lot of resentment. But typically by the end of the 30 minutes I'm like, okay, you could calm down the emotions a little bit and you could kind of piece together why you were being punished.
I think that's the thing though, is that you were more mature in your mindset. You were thinking through like, hey, this is, the reasoning. Maybe at the end of 30 minutes, I realized what happened and like made the correlation. But
Yeah.
I think that the spanking provides a much more direct, quick, like, this is a legitimate punishment. This is a,
Hmm.
because a lot of kids, like, they'll spend that 30 minutes, like you said, just brooding, resenting. They're like, I did nothing wrong. Like,
Hmm.
which I guess could be the case for spanking, actually. So I might have just debunked my own argument. Um, I don't know. I don't think I don't like. I'm not saying that spanking is the necessary thing, right? I think that
Hmm.
there are punishments like timeout or like you take away
Hmm.
one of their toys or something. Where I think that there are options, but I just think there is a. I mean, like everyone has that experience of like a parent not disciplining their kid at the store when they're running around being a nuisance. And I think that whether it's whether it's physical, whether it's mental, whether it's some kind of punishment is warranted. And I just think that if you stray away from like, hey, you can't spank your kids, it's find these other ways. Like sometimes I I'm sure that there's kids that just don't respond to like a timeout, right? I'm sure there's kids that don't respond to a spanking, but I think that that option works for kids. Not all kids. It worked for me.
Okay.
I know it's worked for a lot of people who were spanked as kids. So I think that having those options, those not because it's not something that's physically like leaving a real uh, mark on them for like a long term mark on them, and it's not like a brutal just beating. Um, I think there's a time and place
Yeah.
for all kinds of punishments, and yeah, it kind of depends on the kid and what works.
Hmm.
Right. What about the prime? You might be able to agree on this. Living in a school teacher household, the prime function of schooling should be to equip the future generation to find jobs.
Uh, yeah, that's the prime function, and then the secondary function would be to explore passions. I think the schooling system in general is just pretty bad. Um, it's 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 made for kids to work a 9 to 5. You're in class 7 to 3 every single day. Um, but I agree with that. Yeah.
I think that I would actually land and disagree on that one.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I think if we were saying like here's the mission of the school system is to have kids find jobs, I would disagree with that. If you were saying
Hmm.
that we need to produce kids that are hireable, we need to produce that, I would be a little more open to, just because like I think
So
that
so this is not talking about like schools in their current state. It's just like, do you think they should be?
yeah, and I don't think that that should be like the mission, right? Because I think it's misleading. I think that the wording of that, maybe I'm just thinking too hard into the problem. I think
Hmm.
that like it should be producing socially functional kids with basic skills. Like right, like and I don't think employability is I think employability is softly correlated to it, but I don't think that's like the measure that we should be using. Like it if you've got a kid who can't who does get straight A's and they look good on a resume, but they show up to a job, they're in their job and they can't communicate, they can't um, you
Hmm.
know, deal with conflict and all that. Like I think that those soft skills are what like differentiate, like a lot of people will trash on homeschooled kids, for example, because you don't get that experience. You don't get the social interactions. You don't get the grief, like you don't get the grief of getting turned down for homecoming. You don't get those things from like outside of school as much. And I think
Hmm.
that school should be more of a like I'm not saying like a super hippie, oh, we're just going to teach kids how to love the earth and everything, right? I'm saying like, but it should instill in them skills beyond getting a job. It should be like conflict resolution, communication, just just social skills. I think those are far more important than can you write a resume
But
and do an interview.
but I feel like a lot of those small soft skills, those social skills, are very they're important for you to be successful in a job or career. I think
They
those are
de-
one and the same for me.
they definitely do play into employability, but I think that like if you're chasing employability, you get the markers of like, hey, how are they doing on standardized tests? You get, hey, um how are they performing in these like certain metrics? And I think that
Hmm.
those hard metrics aren't like the goal, right? Like I think that it should be positive that it should be a secondary thing like, okay, also these things produce a more employable child.
Hmm.
But I think the main goal should be able to produce like a decent member of society over like a
Okay.
good worker, basically.
Okay. Okay. But so what's a decent member of society? Knowing that once most people graduate and they get out of any form of academia, they're spending a third of their life communicating and interacting with other people at their job.
I mean, yeah, their job is, the job is big, right? Like that's our the nature of a society, 40 hours a week or more. Like that's kind of the nature of it. But you got people that have no interpersonal. You can get jobs that don't need interpersonal skills, right? But you can be an
Hmm.
absolute just awful person to be around in outside of work, right? Like I think that if we could produce kids that can not be just little assholes outside of work, I think that that would be a better benefit to society than if we produce someone that can just survive in a work environment. I guess like
Yeah.
if it, yeah, I guess that's my stance.
Yeah.
Oh, this is maybe a hot topic. This is maybe a spicy one. There are no savage and civilized peoples. There are only different cultures.
Um, was that on the next page? Hold up. What page are
This
you on?
is,
3?
I believe, page 3. Yes.
Oh, okay. Um, no, they're savage people. Yeah, yeah, there are different cultures, but that doesn't mean they're not savage. There's still a sense of morality. If you have a culture that kills off a bunch of people, if you have a warmongering nation, I feel like that's pretty savage.
I agree. Maybe not as hot as I thought it would be. I thought you were going to
Yeah.
disagree for
No,
publicity, your PR
no, not
training.
for publicity. No, I mean like you can take it back a couple hundred years. There were definitely like more savage cultures that existed because they were um I mean, if you want to take it back to if you want to take it back to Nazis, you can if you really wanted to. Yeah, they're from a different country. Yeah, they had a different culture, but their actions were pretty savage,
Yeah,
not so civilized.
agree. I would agree with you on that one. I put so for the next five, I put Stronglys. So we
Strongly
can just
agree or
kind of
disagree.
so those who are able to work and refuse the opportunity should not expect society support. I would strongly agree.
Okay, I agree.
And then I put strongly disagree for the entire next four. So I guess we can go like this and then just kind of shotgun some of them. Um,
Yeah, yeah. Troubled. It's better to not think about it, but to keep busy with more cheerful things. Yeah, disagree. You gotta be a little introspective.
you got to work through it.
You gotta work through it. You gotta work through it mentally. That doesn't mean just keeping your hands busy. First generation immigrants can never be fully integrated within their new country. Yeah, strongly disagree for sure. Like your parents are a perfect example of that. Do you feel like they're fully integrated into
Yeah, I
into
mean
the United States?
yeah, they both work at American corporations with American jobs and play pickleball and golf as hobbies. And my mom plays Pokemon Go, so I think they're pretty integrated.
Yeah, they wow, that's yeah. What's good for the most successful corporations is always ultimately the good for all of us. Yeah, strongly disagree. No broadcasting institution, however independent, is content should receive public funding. Ooh, okay. So, huh? So no public funding from broadcasting institutions?
I disagreed with that one, so I think that they should be able to receive funding because it says also, however independent its content. If it's a legitimately unbiased, good for information organization, they should be funded and um, basically heralded as like, hey, uh, this is a net good for society.
Okay, I agree. Okay, I'm just kind of clicking through randomly, so I'm kind
Yep.
of interested to see what my hodgepodge is going to be because it's not anything that I actually believe. I'm just
Our
kind of clicking so I can see the next page.
our civil liberties are being excessively curbed in the name of counterterrorism. It's a Patriot Act, essentially. Uh,
Shout out TSA.
I, I don't think it's like great what a lot of them are doing, but also I think I disagree on this one. Not strongly, but like I think I disagree because like I think like from a even from a like a libertarian side, I would rather have someone read through my texts than someone plant a bomb in my house. I mean, it's kind of like it's kind of like the what's the worst that happens kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I hate
Well,
the oh if you have nothing to hide kind of deal because I don't agree with that. I think that privacy is like a good for society, but
mhm.
I don't know. I think that the threat of terrorism and shootings and all of that, like I think that those like threat of death or loss of life is more of a threat than loss of privacy, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
A significant advantage of a one-party state is that it avoids all the arguments that delay progress in a democratic political system. I'm gonna disagree on that one.
It's
Um,
an advantage.
it is one advantage. Um, so I already spoke on the if you have nothing wrong. So this one is although the electronic age makes official surveillance easier, only wrongdoers need to be worried. I already said I disagree on that one. The death penalty should be an option for the most serious crimes. Strongly agree. Easy, easy
Ooh,
one.
ooh, ooh. Okay. So this is where like death penalty kind of gets funky for me because like if you know 100% without a fathom of a doubt that you know that somebody's guilty of committing a crime, I 100% agree. But because of how our institutions are run, there are so many people in the prison system that didn't do the thing that they're in jail for. So it's just like you could potentially kill an innocent person. And then at that point, does that make you better? And like even if it was somebody that was guilty, um, and let's say you had like a mass murderer and then you killed a mass murderer, does that make you better than them? That's kind
I
of like the eye for an eye thing.
Yeah, but it's kind of I think it's like the executioner is supposed to be. It's like the same thing with disciplining a child. You know, it's like the executioner is impartial. They are like lacking emotion. Um,
Yeah.
it's a it's a removal of this person that's bad for society from society. Right, and I do
Hmm.
agree with the like I know there's been many cases someone's been exonerated, you know, on death row they've been exonerated, or you know lifetime sentence they've been exonerated after 40 years, and it's terrible, right? Like I those are awful things that shouldn't happen to people, and it's
Hmm.
regretful that it does. But like I guess the question could be posed to you. This is maybe a little callback to our old hypotheticals. Would you, if you could get rid of 100 violent criminals right now by pressing a button, would you do it if it meant costing one innocent life, completely innocent?
Ooh. Ooh. I can't remember what I said before. Yeah, this is trolley problem. This is a trolley problem. But you know who the people are.
I think I pressed that button pretty much. Ah, oh yeah. I mean,
Yeah, what if it's your dad? What if your dad's
yeah.
the
No, see,
the
that's the
innocent
thing.
person?
That's the thing, right? If it's someone I don't know, press the button. But yeah, I mean, because it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's like if it's someone I know, then obviously like, no, I'm not pressing the button, right? I'm not killing the innocent. But like where it becomes difficult, and obviously it's Charlie problem we talked about, and not really a solution to it, is that like those 100 people are likely to do way more harm than one innocent life. Or like 100 violent criminals are far more likely to do just by percentage, they're probably going to harm more than one innocent person,
Yeah.
right? So like,
I mean, and then you can be like just full devil's advocate, and you could be like, yeah, that one person was the lead researcher on curing cancer. He was projected to save millions of lives.
I think
But
I think an impartial person, I think I think obviously we can't answer it as humans because we're gonna have the emotions associated with it. I think it is a net good for society. I think if I was impartial and I didn't have connections to people, like I would say it's a net good. Like I would say always
yeah,
press that
yeah.
button.
If you take the human aspect out of it, if you kill, there's generally more good people in the world than there are bad people. Um, and if you have to kill off all of the objectively bad people, and then a few hundred good people have to die for it, society would be better. But that's not the human answer. That's the robot answer.
Yeah, it's the AI overlord answer.
Yeah.
Um, in a civilized society, one must always have people above to be obeyed and people below to be commanded. I think I would agree. I don't know if strongly because I don't I like the earlier one there was one that was like you should always question authority. I said strongly agree. I'm saying
Yeah.
because I don't think you could always resist authority, but you should always question it. Um,
Hmm.
I would still say agree. I think there needs to be a level of social structure, and people that have bad
Yeah.
ideas and bad IQs
And
should not be in power.
you're actively in um a structure right
Hierarchy,
now.
yeah,
Yeah, in a hierarchical structure known as the military. You have people above you and you have people below you. There's people above you that command you, and there's people below you that you command.
yeah.
And the military generally does okay for itself.
Mhm. Here are two, speaking on our criminals. In criminal justice, punishment should be more important than rehabilitation.
Uh,
I, I
strongly
would,
disagree.
I'd say disagree. Uh, I say disagree just because sometimes like just rehabilitation, right? Like if it's a mass murderer or like a serial rapist or something, I
Hmm.
think, but punishment also isn't a good word for it, right? Because it shouldn't be like punishment makes it sound emotional. It should just be like it should be an unemotional removal of this person from society. Um,
Yeah.
I'll say disagree. It's kind of bad wording, but it is a waste of time to try and rehabilitate some criminals. Strongly agree. Some criminals. Strongly
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
Some people are completely corrupt. Um, Disagree on this business person and manufacturer being more important than the writer and the artist. Uh, you see the next one?
Yeah.
All right, let's get your answer on that one. Mothers may have careers, but their first duty is to be homemakers. Luke, thoughts?
Thoughts? First duty. Why is it their first duty? I'm gonna disagree. Um, yeah, I mean, why does it have to be their first duty? If it's something that they want to do and that's what they want to pursue, go for it. Um, but it doesn't. Why would it have to be their first duty?
So
Like
I'm gonna
I guess a parent's like first duty, as parents should be like raising their children, but it doesn't have to be the mother. It could be the father.
I would say that both the mother and father's first duty should be their duty, right? Like not their first party, but
Yeah,
like their duty, both of them is to provide for their family, I think.
yeah.
Like I think that just because if it said females, then yeah, maybe it's a little more contentious. But like mothers and fathers, I think I would strongly agree on this one.
What about just mothers?
Strongly agree.
Okay.
You gonna catch me? Um, all right. Let's see. Um, Almost all politicians promise economic growth, but we should heed the warnings of climate science to curb global warming.
What? You want my answer first?
Yeah.
You want my answer?
Hmm.
Heed the warnings of climate science that growth is detrimental to the efforts to curb. Um, I'm gonna agree. I'm a big climate, not even climate, just like I'm an Earth person. We should protect the Earth. We shouldn't be polluting it.
Yeah,
We should
I
heed the
also agree.
warnings. We should implement policies that are generally beneficial for the Earth. I don't feel like that's a bad take, and I don't feel like it's that hard to do. In fact, we've done it. Like the United States is much better at protecting the Earth and preventing climate change. So we just have to get other countries on board to do the same thing.
I also agree.
Yeah.
Making peace with the establishment is an important aspect of maturity. Kind of speaks to what we were saying earlier and what we said before, which is like making peace is that coming to terms with you can't really control it and living your life how you should.
Yeah,
So
I agree with that.
I'd say agree. Yeah, not strongly, but agree.
Like it's a begrudging. I agree.
Yeah. Astrology accurately explains many things. Strongly disagree. Uh, you cannot be moral without being religious. Strongly disagree. What do you think? You got a different stance on that one?
I personally think that the strongest sense of morals are faith based
I
inherently.
so I agree that religion like is the basis of morality, right? Like, I think that I'd say that I could agree with that, right? Like, not 100%, but like I could say I could agree with religion is the foundation of morality. But I think that as our culture is set up, like I think there's enough cultural and societal pressures without the religious side to provide like, hey, you shouldn't kill people or take people's property.
Yeah, I feel like it's founded in religion, and then it's taken offshoots of that within our culture and within society, to just be good people. And people can derive a sense of morality and be moral without being religious. I've met many people like that.
Yeah,
I've met some of the best people ever that aren't religious, but they have a lot of like what they believe in is inherently religious, and they just don't know it, or they don't view it as that.
yeah. Um,
So I'm gonna. So that's like interesting because it's like even though they're not religious, they're based in religious beliefs. So it's like,
So I think that's why the wording of the question, I would still say disagree though, right? Because though
yeah,
that individual is not religious themselves, even though their morals may stem from
yeah,
societal's religious foundations.
yeah.
But I think we both agree on like the foundation of morality.
Hmm.
Um, Charity is better than Social Security as a means of helping the genuinely disadvantaged. I'd say disagree. I think you can't
Hmm.
really rely on charity and the good heart of others just because there may be some rich one percenters that may help. You can't rely on
Yeah.
that.
No, you can't. Some people are naturally unlucky. Strongly agree.
Strongly agree. Strongly agree.
No.
It is
It is
important that
important. It is important that my child's school instills religious values.
so basically what we were saying, right? Like morality is, I think, inherently kind of a religious value.
Hmm.
I'd say, but like religion itself, I think there should still be a separation between
Church and state,
church and
baby.
state.
Church and
Yeah.
state. Yep.
All right, next page. Final page. Finally, a look at
Oh
sex.
yeah.
Um, Sex outside marriage is usually immoral. Thoughts?
Thoughts? Like what does immoral mean? Like
I don't think it
what's like
makes you a bad person.
not conforming to the standards, not conforming to the accepted standards of morality. Hmm. I don't think it makes you a bad person.
And I think that if we're saying
Disagree.
morality is like a societally created thing, if we're saying a religious, then yes, right? Like from a religious
Mhm.
standpoint. But if we're saying morality is like society's accepted norms, our
Yeah.
society is not exactly saying that's immoral.
Yeah.
I'll say disagree.
A same a same-sex couple in a stable, loving relationship should not be excluded from the possibility of child adoption. Should not be. Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
agree.
Porn depicting consenting adults should be legal for the adult population. As bad as porn is, we live in a free country.
Yeah,
People can do what they want.
yeah. There's downfalls, but it's like the same thing as there was one earlier about decriminalizing marijuana for personal use, right? It's like I don't agree with. I don't think marijuana is good for you, but like I'm not going to say criminalize it, right? Like it's personal at
Yeah,
that point,
yeah,
personal responsibility.
yeah, yeah. What goes on in a private bedroom between consenting adults is no business of the state. Agree. Strongly
Agree.
agree. No one can feel naturally homosexual.
I will
Uh,
disagree on that one.
yeah, I'm gonna disagree.
These days, openness about sex has gone too far. I'd I'd say agree.
Yeah, I agree.
I think there's way too much in the media and in social media and all that.
Now's the time.
Here is the reveal.
Here's the reveal.
All right, where am I? Where am I? Where am I? All right, there we go.
What you did on your phone? Oh, you're a super lib.
Am I lefter than you are?
Yes.
Whoa, that's a surprise.
So you see those boxes? I
Yeah.
was exactly 2 boxes over to the left and 2 boxes down.
Okay, so yeah, so I'm double as left as you are.
So wait, how many boxes over are you?
Four to the left, one and a half down.
Okay, so you are. I'm looking at the politics stack exchange ideology, and you fall under the social democrat part.
No, my my self image has been shattered.
You're a lefty, Dave.
That's crazy. Yeah, this must be inaccurate.
Alright, so where do you know where you fell before?
Uh, It was definitely on the right. Um, I want to say it was auth right.
Oh, you were an auth, right?
I was edgy in high school. I was really edgy.
Oh,
I'd say things about death penalty and sticking to your own kind a lot, you know?
oh
I didn't.
no.
That was a joke. It was a joke. For anyone listening, actually that was a joke. But
Yeah.
yeah, huh. That's a interesting. I
How does
mean,
this change your world? Do you feel like a different person? You lefty scum.
at least it's like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, also, I don't, like you said, we don't know how accurate this is. Um,
No.
but I definitely have shifted. I mean, like as our discussion evidenced just now, like I definitely know I've shifted in my stances. One, a lot of them are a lot
How
less extreme,
how
but
far how far did you shift though? You went from auth right to lefty lib.
I'm wondering, I really wish I saved it from high school. I don't think I still have it. Um, but I remember I once took a screenshot, but it's it's long gone, I think, at this point.
Hmm.
See if I can. Nope, that's the only one I have. Yeah, I don't really know what to say. I guess now everyone knows what this is a leftist podcast now.
We can be the first. We can we can be the left Joe Rogan.
Now we can finally get that audience that's been not listening to us. The audience that is turned off by our image. Now you know
Yeah.
we're
Hey,
we're in the same quadrant as you guys. So subscribe.
we're in the cool kid club. We did it. Dave, I'm so proud of us.
And actually, you know, this will be good. And this will get me into law school. They'll be like, "Oh, okay, we got to check your political leanings real quick."
Yeah, yeah. When you like upload certain certificates that you have, just upload your political compass.
Instant shoo-in for Harvard. Instant.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Oh, look at that. We learned a little bit about ourselves today.
Yeah, we found out we're not as bad as we thought we were. We're
Yeah,
on the good
because
team.
yeah, we're on the right side of history, right? And we just lost all of our social standing with those jokes. Immediately, we lost any goodwill we had with those viewers.
Oh, man. I can't wait to start calling people bigots for what they believe in.
I'm I think I'm gonna get my I think I'm gonna sign up for a hair appointment next week. Thinking
Hair
purple.
appointment? In purple. That would look good. You could pull it off.
Yeah, you think the military would be cool with that?
Um, in its current standing, no.
Get
Two
what?
years ago,
Give
yeah,
it.
completely.
Yeah, 2 years ago. Yeah. Well, we'll see in 4 years
Yeah,
when they
we'll
inevitably
see
keep
what
me
happens.
in. Yeah.
You're gonna sign up for. You're gonna stay forever.
Not anymore. Not in this military with my political
When
compass.
when you're not as left as Harvard wants, and they won't accept you, are you just gonna stay in the military?
Might have to be the. Well, I won't be right enough for the military. I'll be lost. I'll be unemployable. The school did not prepare me to take a political compass
Oh,
test to get in.
oh no. Yeah, hopefully they don't make you take a political compass test. Well, now you know what to expect. You know how to answer.
Yeah, I know how to answer. Everyone should stick to their own gun. I'll say that, and everyone, you know. Well, the problem is, I think a lot of the social ones, we've always known though that me and you on a lot of the social issues like gay marriage and abortion and things like I think generally we're much less hard on those topics or like
Well,
those are less
and
contentious for us.
the way that these questions were framed too, it was like, should these people exist or should these people have the rights to do certain things? And I'm like, generally, I don't care what other people do. I'm just like, yeah, as long as you're not impacting me, I don't care what you do. And just because of how it was asking and framing questions, it was basically like you hate that person or you can like let them live. and like I don't hate them, so I'm gonna they're cool. They can exist.
I think that's the thing about the economic scale too, the left and right, because like right, it's like, hey, do you think corporations should just be able to kill people for fun, for money? And we're like, well, no. And then they're like, okay, you're a leftist then. Like it's like you,
Yeah,
it'll be like the corporation should be able to destroy the world for shareholder profit. Like I can't really strongly agree with that one. And then now we've landed where we are. Well, do you have
it's
any?
funny. You've lost your conservative title. You're no longer conservative.
I'm gonna change my start changing my Instagram profile pictures month to month,
To what? To what?
depending on month to month, just depending on whatever month it is. Different flags.
Different non-American flags.
Right. Yeah, I guess I have to remove any like USA imagery from my social media now. I'm not allowed.
Oh. The political compass is now your new astrology. You're gonna base your entire personhood on the score that you got.
Let's be honest. Political compass is astrology. It really is. Like it's someone saying they're lib left or auth right. It's just as bad as someone saying they're a Virgo.
Yeah,
Like
I
it's
mean, it's people giving themselves an identity, make them feel unique and cool.
yeah. Well, you got any other topics for today? And,
No other topics. Well,
uh,
I do, but we'll just save them for next time. We've been going for a minute.
and I think we had a good range of topics today,
Yeah.
just enough to piss everyone off, just to make sure
Hell
everyone's a
yeah.
little upset with us.
Yeah. Now we're talking.
All right.
But
Well,
no, I don't have any more. Do you have any more?
no, that's it. If anyone's listening, send us your results, and then we'll shame you for being a bigot.
Well, shout out to my bigots out there. We still love you guys.
Okay. Yeah.
This
Yeah. That
was illogically ignorant. We'll see you guys next time.
later.